Welcome to True Freedom, a new podcast for you. If you're searching, longing, if you know there's something more that you need in life. I'm your host, Richard Stokes, and our guide for this podcast is Bodhi, Aldridge, transformational leadership coach, author and teacher, and also great friend of mine. And each week we meet here to jointly explore a topic or a theme that's likely to matter to you in your life right now. I'll put some questions to Bodhi and he'll share his profound wisdom on that topic. The idea is that you can take that wisdom and see how it feels to you. Sit with it, ponder it, live with it, and do something with it. This is our invitation to you. And our offer is to provide a map to this territory and some tools in terms of how to best navigate it. Now, we invite you to come and play. We really want to hear from you, your thoughts and your questions, and more on that will come as we get further into the episode, into the podcast. Now, one early ask of you, if you like this podcast, we'd love you to please rate it and review it on Apple Podcasts, and please hit that subscribe button for future episodes. All of this really helps a new podcast show up for more and more people, so more people will get a chance to hear it and use that wisdom that I've talked about. So to this week, we're going to look at beliefs, and specifically the only belief that you need to change in life. That's right. The one key belief that can really hold you back and prevent access to the true freedom that this podcast is determined to unlock for you and to unlock with you. This really sits at a foundational level of true freedom. And as a result, it's applicable to all aspects of our lives. So we're going to cover a lot today. So I hope you're ready and set up for what's going to be a great episode. Some of the things that we're going to talk about. Okay, so what is a belief? Where do they come from? How do we develop these beliefs, and why are they so important to us in life? And how can beliefs help and also hinder us in everything we do every single day? And to that, so if we're holding on to some beliefs that maybe aren't serving us so well, how can we start to change those beliefs over time? And here's the thing, everyone, it can be done, and Bodhi's got the tools to do it. So with no further ado, Bodhi, hey, how you doing? Great to see you.
Yes, good. Thanks, Richard. Yeah, great to be here. Love that intro. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's such a delight to be able to, share this wisdom and have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I just always I look forward so much to our conversations each week on this topic. And this is one that, we've been working with for a while, that we decided would be a really good one to go out early in this series. Because as I said in the intro, it's so foundational, right, to everything we're doing, and specifically to what we mean by true freedom. And on that, as we're early on, can you just hit a little reminder for everybody of just what we mean by true freedom?
Yeah, thank you. Essentially, true freedom, one way to look at it is freedom from something. And ultimately, in all traditional wisdom, what we're looking at is freedom from suffering. Yeah, and there's a conversation about what suffering means, and we can touch on that. Yeah, suffering through attachment, suffering through our thoughts, our feelings. And the other aspect of true freedom is our essential nature is freedom. Yeah, our true self. And so the combination of freeing ourselves from these attachments, from this suffering, and revealing our true essence. Yeah, that's what we're on about. That's what the work's about. Yeah. And when we come at our essential essence, we're coming at it through presence. How do we develop presence with our true nature? And then how do we let go of any suffering, these constructs that we've created?
Right. So, okay. So the really important is these two equally important sides to what we mean by freedom. This sort of move, I almost see it as a moving away from the suffering and moving to that remembering of what you're saying our true nature is to be free. We've simply forgotten it, or chosen almost to believe to our theme, chosen to believe that we are not free. Is that the case?
Yeah. The interesting thing in all of this area of personal development, leadership development, spiritual development, fundamentally, yeah, we don't have to learn anything. We just have to remember, yeah, who we really are. And remembering is to join, reconnect with our essence. And so the way I would describe it, on the one hand, to do that, we're letting go of old beliefs. We're letting go of old patterns. Yeah, we're letting go of triggers. And whilst we do that, we're cultivating our essence, cultivating our reconnection with ourselves. Yeah, and that's the hand in glove experience that will create this place of freedom.
Right. So this is a cycle. This is working in unison. This sense of letting go and moving back towards remembering who we are. It's all happening at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, and it's actually a spiral, which is interesting. And those of the listeners that have been on this journey for a while, sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm back here revisiting this old belief or this old feeling. Yeah, but you're not at the same place. Yeah, you're actually spiraling deeper and deeper into the connection with self. And so it may be the same pattern, yeah, but it's a different level of the pattern. And again, that's what we're all doing. We're spiraling. Yeah, it's not linear, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's great reassurance in that as well, because sometimes, we can feel that we're in the same loop of narrative, of experience that doesn't change. And am I, progressing in some way? But when you talk about the spiral, I start to see it going up, and there is progress. It's just recognizing that there is progress.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a good reminder, because yes, some of particularly our foundational patterns, which again we'll talk about 0 to 7 years of age, but yeah, sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm here again. Yeah, but it's not the same place. It's like a labyrinth. It's like, you're moving around and around,
Yeah. The key there is that the movement. You are in movement, some kind of movement.
So and as you mentioned, the territory, the map, and the tools. And again, if we put one lens through the hero's journey, yeah, and how to navigate that territory to true freedom and the tools. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's for the listeners. We'll be talking about that a lot. The territory we're in, the map that we've got for that, and some of the tools that are going to help. You'll hear us talk about that a lot as we go through today and another podcast. So perhaps on the territory, we're talking about beliefs, and can we start there in terms of what is a belief? If you have perhaps a definition around that to give it some framework, I'm sure that'll be happy for everybody, and how that sits in context with our life's experience and the work that we're talking about. So let's start there.
Yeah, fundamentally, a belief is something we hold true. And remember, as we go deeper into this journey, we're starting to work with the subconscious mind. Yeah, 90 to 95% of your operating system, the meaning you give the world, is your subconscious. And we know that through the neuroscience, we know that through psychology, psychotherapy. So what we're revealing and uncovering is, what are the unconscious beliefs I have? What are these beliefs that I hold true? Values, are contextual beliefs. And so values are something you hold important.
Yeah.
So for example, my value might be health. My belief is it would be useful to exercise. Yeah. And that's what we're navigating. And life is full of conflict, values conflicts, beliefs that flow, beliefs that resist. Yeah. And again, self-awareness, leadership awareness is really uncovering your subconscious mind. Yeah. And in that, what we're dealing with is the mental system, the nervous system, the emotional system, and the energetic system. Yeah. As we navigate this territory. And beliefs predominantly fit in the subconscious mind, the mental system, but they influence the body-mind loop, the emotional mind loop. It starts to become very much a loop, where these beliefs can start to activate in our emotional state as well.
Right. So these beliefs are essentially guiding us all day, every day, whether we know it or we don't. And what we're saying is, a lot of it, because it's in the subconscious, we're not aware of it. It's almost like we're on autopilot, that life is happening And we know that a certain amount of life has to happen in that subconscious realm for us to get through the day. However, what you're saying is we can actually shine more of a light on some of that subconscious thinking to understand, why did I choose to think that, say that, do that? Is that where we're heading to?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about self-awareness again, if you think about leadership awareness, it's almost like suddenly we become more aware of ourselves, of our thoughts, of our feelings, and of our behavior. And once you become aware, you start to realize that what's been driving your behavior and your emotions very much sits in your subconscious. So what we're doing, if you think about self-regulation, so you think about self-awareness, self-regulation, we're regulating each day our behavior, our emotions, our thoughts, through this subconscious pattern, through these subconscious beliefs. So absolutely. When I work with leaders and with men in business, one of the simple tools and diagnose that I suggest is, if you want to know what your true values are and your true beliefs are, then just show me your diary for the last month. Show me where you're putting your energy. Because that's your truth. May not be what you think is your truth, but behavior will always be a guide as to what your beliefs are and what your values are. And the challenge, even for myself, is on the one hand, my belief is I want to get fit. The truth is I don't go to the gym. So there's a conflict. and I can, again, if I'm heading towards freedom and internal alignment, it's like, which one do I want to let go of? Do I want to change my belief and go, I don't want to get fit? Or do I want to change my behavior, that I do want to go to the gym? And again, this is the territory.
Yeah. And so these, what I'm aware of, when we talk about values, where we talked about that, contextual beliefs. Values often set quite early in life, and we hold on to them because they have value for us. Often, sometimes less so, but that's why they're intrinsically important to us. So where are beliefs coming from? Are they set early, held for a long time, or are they chopping and changing as life and life experience emerges?
Yeah, the fundamental belief, and we're going to talk today about the fundamental belief to shift.
Yes.
If you want to accelerate, I know most of us are looking for the silver bullet on our personal development journey, our spiritual development journey. And whilst there's no silver bullet, this will accelerate and transform. But where these beliefs and values come from fundamentally is 0 to 7 years of age.
Right.
And we know, again, through psychology, through psychotherapy, through neuroscience, what's occurring 0 to 7 with our brain, is we're in theta states. So if you think about the different brain waves, alpha, beta, delta, theta, and the theta state is literally the state of download. It's not a state of reasoning, not a state of rational. It's a little bit like when we go into sleep states, there's a theta state. So for children 0 to 7, they're literally downloading their experience, the energy, the emotion. It's just a big download that's going into the subconscious mind. What happens then is that subconscious mind becomes our operating system. It becomes essentially the way we then are going to experience the world, our beliefs around the world, what we hold valuable in the world, and how we move forward in the world. Now, as we develop, as cognition develops, as we develop, we have different influences. There are certain things we can tweak. But some of these fundamental beliefs, they're set up 0 to 7, and there's, an easy way to track what the experience was to create these beliefs. And they're informing every human being I've met every day until you become aware.
Right. So and at the crux of this is, as we promised, is the only belief, or the key belief, that if you want to make change in your life and really progress and find that potential, here's the one that you really need to work on. So, and this is one that's been set in this 0 to 7 age range.
Yep. Yeah, if we look at the human experience, and again, this has certainly been my experience coaching thousands of leaders around the globe. Yeah. And just to give a bit of the background of 0 to 7. So if you think about the human experience, when we're born, yeah, we come into this relative world, this world of separateness. And we've gone from this place of safety in the womb. Yeah, we've come into this, you know, often, certainly my generation, I'm 61, my generation was bright lights, loud noise, smack on the bum. Yeah. And the experience, right or wrong, yeah, it's not right or wrong, was suddenly, well, this is different. I better shut down. And so we shut down a part of our system because it's like, what's going on here? This is different. And then again, if we just quickly summarize the human experience for most people, what happens is that normally we then go home with our mother, father, caregiver, and the first couple of months, and you've got a tiny little boy that's been born, baby cries. Yeah. And what happens, Rich, first couple of months?
You attend, you everything stops and you attend to baby, whatever the need might be.
Exactly. Whatever the need is. Baby cries, gets changed. Baby cries, gets fed. Yeah. Baby cries, gets warm, until one day, yeah, baby cries, yeah, dinner's burning, doorbell rings, phone rings. What do?
Yeah, you're triaging slightly differently because you go, well, I better deal with that burning dinner. Baby will be fine.
Exactly.
Baby's a bit older now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want any parents to go into any guilt here around this. This is the human experience, but I better put the fire out. Yeah. What's the baby's experience? Yeah. So the baby's experience, the baby doesn't have cognition to sit back and go, Dad's busy. Yeah. The baby's experience is it's something to do with me. We're the most dependent species on the planet. Our whole survival depends on another human being. And I thought the gig was, I cry, somebody comes. That's what we set up, didn't we? And again, suddenly I cry, yeah, nobody comes. And so the baby puts on the first cut of what we call the masks.
Right.
Yeah. And the masks are there to keep us safe. Yeah. And again, you know, we can do a whole podcast on the different masks that we wear, but fundamentally, an example of the masks are in a family of siblings. The first child might come out and go, if I want to get attention of my caregivers, of my mum or father, I'll be the high achiever. That's a good one. Yeah, let's put that mask on because that seems to work. The second one comes out and goes, well, I better be the goody two shoes. And then the third one comes out and goes, well, I better be the angry sucker here because it's the only way I'm going to get attention. And so we put on these masks, and as little people, they work brilliantly. Yeah, anyone with children, you think about little Noah, your oldest son. Yeah, like he's constantly knows how to get your attention because it's a survival mechanism. Yeah. It's important. They don't have all of the tools and ammunition to keep themselves safe. And so these masks are fantastic. The challenge is most of us forgot to take them off.
Right.
And if you go to any family gathering at Christmas, any dinner party, you'll see everybody come back to their family of origin with their masks on and wonder why everyone gets triggered. Because the fundamental belief that the child sets up, when somebody doesn't respond, these experiences we have 0 to 7, is I'm not good enough because I'm not lovable and valuable. If you loved me, you would have come. If you valued me, it's not true. This fundamental belief isn't true, but it's the game changer because it's a deep subconscious belief that drives human behavior. Yeah, and because it's so subconscious, Most people don't wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, I'm not good enough. Yeah. But every day, yeah, your behavior, yeah, every time you get triggered, every time you get anxious, what's happening is the not good enough's coming up. And most of us go, I'm not good enough, but one day I'm going to be, you watch. Yeah. I'm just going to get my business sorted, pay the mortgage off, get the marriage sorted, whatever it is. It's the one day, someday, one day I'm going to be good enough, and wonder why. Yet they never feel contentment. They never feel true freedom. Yeah, because this suffering of this feeling, if it doesn't matter, even though I've built the business, I still don't feel good enough. Yeah, I still don't feel enough. The beauty is that belief can change. But does that make sense?
It does, and it's, and you've unpacked a lot in there in
Yep.
terms of the fundamental human experience. So thank you for that, and we'll, this is a theme that we'll keep coming back to. So if you will hear this again, because this is fundamental, as I say, to true freedom, to everything that we're doing here and the work. So yes, it does. So what we've identified here is this is the key belief, the fundamental belief that we all have. However, overtly confident or secure or set someone appears to be, it's likely there's a degree of the not good enough going on. And I say degree because I'm sure it either people have a handle on it and they're working on it, or they're some kind of other self-management going on. It just, what comes to mind for me is that it's things like, there's a term that comes up quite a lot around imposter syndrome. It's not one I love using. I don't use it with clients because it becomes a bit of a label, but it is there and people will talk about it. And it seems, I'm sure, at the heart of that imposter syndrome is the not good enough. And so many very successful, famous people have talked about essentially their own not good enough that they work with and battle through on a day-to-day basis. Too many to name here, but everyone's got it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, working with leaders around the globe, we've all developed strategies, and masks to deal with the not good enough. So most of the high achievers I work with, when you sit down and get them to reflect, it's often been driven by the not good enough. Yeah. And again, they're not necessarily conscious of it, but what drives them is this absolute desire to be the best, to be better than. I work with Olympic athletes and they're the same. It's like, that was what's driving it. Again, it's not good or bad. It's just inherently never going to give you what you're looking for, that sense of freedom, that sense of enough, that sense of peace. Yeah. And so you can still be a high achiever. You can still be an elite athlete, coming from, the truth and the reframe and the belief change, Rich, is I'm okay, I am lovable and valuable.
Wow.
Yeah. And when we really learn to love ourselves, to value ourselves, and what that means, to remember that the essence of who we are, remember the freedom, true freedom is remembering who we really are. Yeah. So when Rafa and Noah were born, what did you see, Rich? When they were born?
Pure love.
Yeah.
And it's all I can say is just absolute purity.
Exactly.
Yeah, and joy.
Yeah, that joy, love, and innocence. That's the truth about all of us. That's our essence. And we've just developed strategies, beliefs, defenses, masks. Yeah, and they're all useful and they're all purposeful. But this hero's journey, the journey home, so the hero meets his trials and tribulations, but the Holy Grail is coming back to your essence.
Yeah.
Coming back to love.
And I wanted to just sort of just go into that a little bit, because the sense of these masks that we develop, as you said, some people either have better strategies of developing these masks. You'd say this often high achievers have that. Do you find that what can keep people from, as you say, if this, we recognize this is the belief that you need to change in life, but what could keep you from wanting to change that belief is, but look, with these masks, I'm okay. I'm doing okay. I'm kind of holding on. And I know part of me, as I set up in the beginning, is that I am searching. There's something that's not quite there, but in the meantime, I'm doing okay, whether I know about masks or not. Is that what prevents people from really looking at this belief and wanting to change it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I was talking to a client recently and asked him a similar question, and he's like, "This kind of works." Yeah, it's like, yeah. And most people, and certainly the men that I work with, and the men that I meet, if you think about the journey, the big part of the hero's journey, the opposite of courage is conformity. And it takes courage, which comes from the French word coeur, C-O-U-R-E, which is the heart. And if I talk about the men and the masculine, which I work a lot with, to really let go of those masks and those strategies, requires an opening. It requires courage. It requires vulnerability, intimacy. And for a lot of men, as a generalization, courage or conformity, conformity wins. I'm just going to conform. I'm just going to live this life. It's all okay. A lot of my clients married, mortgage, business, kids, or leadership. And it's like, it's okay. But the ones that hear the calling, that deeper calling, which is a part of the hero's journey, that call for living a more purpose-centered life, it takes courage. It's like, you know what, I'm ready, I'm willing. And a lot of your listeners have done great work, personal development, spiritual development. I just know this fundamental one is an accelerator.
Right.
And I'll explain to you in a minute how it works in real life. But that's the depth of it.
So there's a sense that the masks can serve. They've got me this far, and you're as I said, you're talking to your client base of predominantly male leaders. I'm guessing they're in their 40s, 50s, maybe even their 60s. It's served them for a really long time. And as you say, things are okay. Things are good enough. With that sense of, I know there might be something else that would really unlock my purpose, but have I got the courage to really do it?
Exactly.
And that must be hard. They're getting real on this. That must be to let some of these beliefs go. It's also, I'm letting that go. What am I taking on? How's the transition going to be? We all, whether we all acknowledge it or not, but that's some kind of a certainty in life, especially when there's so much uncertainty in the world. Can be very attractive.
It is, and to your point, change comes from inspiration or desperation. And so what often occurs, and on the hero's journey, the midlife crisis is we're actually close to the grail at 46. We're closest to the Holy Grail. And you see men who can go into an incredible disruption in their life, which we've labeled midlife crisis. Whether it's changing jobs, changing relationships, changing houses, changing cars, because this calling, this mythology that lives in all of us is so there. If we haven't heard the call, it's so there that often it takes a disruption, a desperation, ill health, a marriage breakup, and how many times do we see people go, that was the catalyst for me to really start doing the deeper inquiry. And so that's the kind of, these are the points on our journey, as men and women, where we meet this place of choice. And to your point, the thinking mind is basically being trained for certainty.
Yeah.
So the way it works is that if you think about the different aspects of our brain, it's like when we project into the future, the sense of certainty and control, our nervous system, is very much looking for that. And it's interesting when we change beliefs, particularly this fundamental belief. So the way it works is, so what we know now, and I love that the neuroscience has caught up with a lot of the psychology, psychotherapy, and traditional wisdoms, which I've studied in depth, because what the neuroscience now talks about is the RAS, the reticular activation system.
Right.
And it's a network of neurons in our brain that actually is the network from within which we perceive the world. And how it works is, most of your listeners would have had the experience where suddenly I decide I want to buy a blue car. And what do you see, Rich, for the next month?
Every car's a blue car on the road.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ads for blue cars. My friend's driving a blue car. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This RAS is activated. The filtering system's activated. Yeah. And it's the same with our beliefs. If I believe I'm not good enough and I'm not lovable and valuable, at a subconscious level, what am I going to see in the world, Rich?
All the evidence that you're not lovable, good enough, valuable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember, the world is inherently meaningless. We're projecting meaning onto the external world in every moment. Through our thoughts, our words, our subconscious mind, our emotions. And what happens is we project the meaning, the RAS of I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable and valuable. You'll find the evidence. If you loved me, then you would have phoned me yesterday. If you valued me, then you would have known that I wanted that, whatever the story may be.
Yeah.
The beauty is, and this is within our absolute choice, is when you change the subconscious belief to I'm okay, I'm lovable and valuable. You can start to find that evidence. You can wake up each day and see how lovable and valuable you are just for who you are. And for most of our listeners, we're sitting in a place where, we have relationships, we have jobs, we have a roof over our heads.
Yeah.
We have plenty of evidence of how valuable and lovable we are. We just don't look for it or find it. Yeah.
So, choice, keyword you mentioned there.
Yeah.
How do we go about? Okay, so behind the choice, we make the choice that what Bodhi's saying here sounds really nice. I like this idea of dropping the little chips that I have, the triggers that I have that are telling me that I'm not doing well enough, I'm not loved like I should be, and all these sorts of things. So I'm really attracted to what you're saying. I make that choice. How do I do it? This is where we maybe get a little bit more practical, which we love to, as I said, we'd love to give you the map and the tools to the territory. So herein may be some of the tools. So I make that choice. How do I grasp this different belief?
And the key thing there is to know, if we think about freedom from suffering, one of the key ways we suffer, exactly as you pointed out, Rich, is the inner critic. We have 80,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative. So the saboteur, the self-judgment, the inner critic, this is all the not good enough. This is the fundamental programming. I'm not good enough. And you'll find the evidence. That monkey mind. And remember that a big part of presence, which I teach, is we've got to slow the mind down. It's like our mind, our thinking mind is like a really fast train. And if you want to slow a train down, you don't jump in front of it. You just slowly slow it down. And so this is one of the ways we suffer. I had a client recently, Rich, who said to me, if I had a friend who came for lunch every day and spoke to me like I talk to myself, I'd never ask him back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is the cost, of this not good enough thinking. And so the choice we have, again, particularly when we start to become aware, wake up, develop a practice, start to realize, again, the Hindu saying is our thinking mind is a fantastic servant. It's a terrible master. When we start to cultivate the witness self as the first stage of our development, we start to realize that I have choice here. And the way we change beliefs, and there are many different tools out there, different teachers, different philosophies, and there's some really powerful stuff if the listeners are keen to explore belief changing. But fundamentally, what they're all doing is three things. The first is, to change a belief, you have to fully acknowledge the current belief. We can't let go of something until we've told the truth to ourselves. And that's all acknowledgement is. Acknowledgement is just to recognize what is so. Recognize, not judge. It's not a bad belief. It's not a wrong belief. But the truth is, I believe I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable and valuable. And the acknowledgement is also acknowledge how that feels. If you want to shift something, you got to tell the whole truth. The truth is, I feel guilty. I feel, frustrated. I feel angry. And again, you're just recognizing that. So journal work, getting a coach, joining a group, for support, all of those ways are just ways to just acknowledge it. And as I mentioned earlier with the spiral, one session may not be enough. Yet as we spiral through, some of these old sticky beliefs, I work a lot with clients around their beliefs around money and around time. These are foundational beliefs that keep tripping them up. The second step to belief changing, is to make a new choice. What's the new belief? To really embody the new belief, not just at a pinhead, not positive thinking. The way we create our reality is our thinking mind, our words, our emotions, our energetic system, and our behavior. So all we're doing is, I'm valuable and lovable. What does that feel like? Do I really love and accept myself? How would it feel if I did? To really start to embody that new belief. And the third step, and this is the shortcut, is you've got to start behaving as if it's already true. You've got to start acting that way, because you're not always going to feel like you love yourself. But if you can behave, even though you feel frustrated, you feel upset or guilty, if you could just move your behavior to an action that demonstrates I love myself, having a hot bath, going for a walk, going to the gym, whatever it might be, what you're doing is starting to align and realign all of those systems that I mentioned. And that's how we create. Remember, it's the law of resonance. We've got to resonate our internal system at a thinking level, at a verbal level, at an emotional level, and an energetic level. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And they talk about a map and tools hand in hand. I suppose what came to me, we have taken this on, is that here's the foundational, the one belief that you can shift and you can change everything. Does it help to even put almost some micro beliefs that are aligned to the not good enough, that macro belief, through this same process, just to see where you sort of net out? You know what I mean? It could be, so for example, for me, I held a belief, I have moved this one on. I held a belief that I was no good at networking. So it's very specific, to do with my old organizations that I used to work with, old industry I used to work in, often have to go to events labeled networking. Didn't enjoy it. Told myself I didn't enjoy it. So it's an absolute belief. So guess what? Every time I went, that evidence that you talked about showed up. That person's not looking at me. That person's not interested in talking to me. I'm having a bad time. I'm going to go home early. That happened a few times. But I think doing, and I didn't necessarily do it this way because I wasn't aware of it then, but there was, I did decide, look, I don't think I'm having such a bad time at this. I think I can enjoy this more.
Yeah.
But I have to do something about it. And I have to, and you talk about the inner critic, I would call it my gremlin. And I would do work on that particular gremlin that would show up for me every time I went. And bit by bit, and it wasn't, and this is why I think that third one is really important, you know, behave as if it is so already, even though it's a work in progress. I'd have periods in a, oh, that went well, that conversation went really well, I'll take that. And then slowly step by step, each networking event I went to, I enjoyed more. Now, when I go to something that might be labeled that or not, I'm all in. Really enjoy meeting new people. You know, so that I said, so that's that sort of micro slicing of beliefs.
And the piece behind it, if you want to explore it, so the answer is yes. And so when you had the old belief of I'm not good at networking, I don't enjoy this, if you go deeper, what did that mean about you?
Well, I know this now. I didn't know it then, you see, but it was absolutely I'm not good enough. Because I would be close to it, because I'd be saying I'm not interesting enough for this person to come and talk to me. I was close, but I didn't quite have the full language, the full map that we talk about to navigate it. But that's exactly what was going on.
Exactly. And that's the contextual belief. That I'm not good enough. So remember, content for your listeners. You know, the content of our world is the stuff. The context gives meaning to the stuff, and there are layers. And so absolutely, the fundamental belief, which we're talking about again, is I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable and valuable. And that's why for the listeners, my encouragement is shift that one first, and absolutely there'll be layers within that, such as networking, things like that. But what happens when you shift the fundamental, and this is the power of this work, Rich, is the way the unconscious fundamental belief of I'm not good enough shows up is, again, what we're doing is we're regulating our thinking system and our emotional system, our energetic system. So when we meet the world, and we're giving the world meaning, remember it's inherently meaningless. And we give the world meaning, and the key is to start noticing the relationship you have with yourself. And the fastest way to know what meaning you're giving your external world is how you feel emotionally. That's the fastest way. And emotions, and again, most of our listeners would know this, are just energy in motion. They're not good or bad, it's just energy. And we label them, and fundamentally they'll either be in the sad, mad, glad, or scared category. And again, we can talk deeper in another podcast. But what happens is when I view the external world and subconsciously give it the meaning that I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable and lovable, usually I'll have an emotional response. And the fast track here is whenever you get triggered, triggered as in an emotional trigger, whenever you feel frustrated, whenever you feel angry, whenever you feel anxious, the meaning you're giving the world is I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable and valuable every time. If you unpack it, if you unpack the process, that's the unconscious. So the fast track is, to notice, get present. The reason we do work with presence is get in your body, start to get present with yourself. Notice when you have a disturbance, an emotional disturbance, and go, oh, they're not good enough. It's not true. Acknowledge the emotion, feel the emotion, and make a choice. And again, we can go deeper into that another time. The reason I say that is if you want to reduce, so in the parenting podcast we talk about our buttons with our children. and how they press our buttons. And one of the first things to learn is, how can I just reduce my buttons? Because most of us, the buttons are so big. If you want to start reducing your buttons and eventually eliminate your buttons, the button every time is they're not good enough.
Yeah.
And so what occurs is, I'm not getting triggered as much. And then I can look at perhaps other beliefs around networking or around money or around time. But I'm coming from a place of growth. I'm coming from a place of self-awareness. I'm not coming from this place of, being triggered and anxious and those sorts of things. So that's why I really emphasize this as a foundational shift. And the journey continues. The hero journey continues. We come up against resistance in different ways. Makes sense?
Yes, it does. It does. And so, clear about why starting as we set up, and the one belief to change is they're not good enough, because it's not true. It's not true. There's the fundamental. But I think the way you've guided us through this, from its relationship to what true freedom is, how we develop these beliefs, why they serve us, when we can let go of them, make that choice, and then actively and very practically start to move away from that long-held not good enough belief to the new territory, and how attractive that is. And that, I think that would be our encouragement, right, to everyone, to just start to, as we say, just sit with this for a bit, have a think about it, ponder it, reflect on it, and send us your observations on it. We'd love to hear some comments and observations about how people have got on with moving on from this one belief. And anything else, Bodhi, that you'd want to drop in here before we sign off today?
Well, again, just to close those loops, firstly, if part of true freedom is freedom from suffering, one of the ways we suffer is through our inner critic, our thinking mind, and our emotional disturbances. This will unhook that. And having coached thousands of people around the globe, and what I know is that the people who get present and start to shift this have transformed their leadership, transformed their workplace, transformed their relationships. So really encourage people, there are other tools, but this is a foundational tool.
Great. And what a gift, and what an invitation to everyone to transform life through this key change of belief. Well, Bodhi, amazing session. Thank you very much, personally, for those reminders for me, and I'm sure for all our listeners as well. So until next time.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy remembering you're valuable and lovable.
Awesome. We're done.
Yay.
Oh, good. Very good.
Boy, how'd we go for time then? That was, could have kept going,
eh? I think it closed naturally. Otherwise, let me just stop recording. Could be another